Detective Comics 1083 came out yesterday, March 26, 2024, and I read it this morning. And I'm enjoying Detective Comics. I have been buying it since 1075. Um, Actually, I bought a couple issues well before then, too. And of course, back in the 80s and so forth. But just recently, I started getting back into new comics. And so I started buying Detective Comics since 1075. Now, the funny thing is, uh, the storyline is still going on. This was like 1075, which came out like 9 months ago or something, was Gotham Nocturne Act 2, Out of Hell Part 2. So this was already on Act 2, and now it's like, whatever it's on now. Those are some of the previous issues: 1077, 1078, 1079, 1080, 1081, 1082. So if you enjoyed those, which I did, you'll probably enjoy this as well. The thing I was glad to see is that it's sort of wrapping up, or at least this part of the storyline is. So the past issue or so, Batman was out in the desert hallucinating with Dr. Hurt, this guy who just looks like a two-bit crook with a mask. But somehow his causing Batman to hallucinate, and it was like tormenting him with his failures as a hero and all this stuff. I think it's supposed to be some sort of metaphor for like Christ in the desert being tempted by Satan. There's various things like that. In fact, there's a scene in here. In fact, it's reflected in the cover where you see Batman. It's kind of hard to see because of the logos in the way, but Batman is sort of holding a city in here. And this is Batman. He has this sort of thing on his shoulders. I don't know why later it shows up in the thing. I guess it's a hard story to explain. Like I said, Batman for the most part has been pretty much out of commission for the past 9 issues. Like he was in jail and then got hung and then dragged out to the desert, and that's basically all. He's been basically been beaten up for the past 9 months in Detective Comics, at least. This stuff isn't being referenced in the regular series, I don't think. And so Dr. Hurt is tormenting him. Gotham has been taken over by this family, the Orgum family or whatever, these people who are sort of running Gotham as like a fascist state. And then again, there's references to the trains running on time, which is like a Hitler type thing. Well, at least the trains ran on time. Now, the interesting thing here is Detective Comics usually has a backup story, or 2 backup stories sometimes. And lately, they've been having the Question backup story integrated into the main story. So normally something like this would be at the back of the issue. It's a Question story. Renee Montoya is the Question in this part, not like Vic Sage. So, not the original Question. It's the female Question. And it has sort of this 9-panel grid that's sort of reminiscent of Watchmen, since Rorschach was based on the Question. But it's integrated in with the rest of the story where Batman is in the desert hallucinating. So, and again, this is sort of the biblical reference where a demon is like showing him the city, it could all be yours, but, he rejects it. So the art is very interesting. Like you can see that it kind of goes back and forth between this very realistic style for the Batman in the desert part, and then you have a more traditional type style, sort of almost like a comic strip style or like a photorealistic maybe style for the Question story, and then jumps back to the desert. So there's kind of that jumping back and forth a bit, but I think it works. And then at the very end, you also have this continuing series or backup story. This is continued from last issue about Dr. Hurt, where these people who have been wronged by Dr. Hurt, these regular people who he was like tormenting for one reason or another, decide to gang up on him and get revenge and go to his mansion, but it turns out there's like these replicants of Dr. Hurt. I don't want to ruin the ending here, but I don't understand how Dr. Hurt is sort of dispatched very easily in the main story here, but he seems very all powerful in the backup. Of course, maybe it's because he's not against Batman. I don't know. So it's interesting. It's cool. It is very long, like this story is still going to be going on probably for the rest of the year, where now Batman is going to presumably get back with Talia al Ghul, well, he does at the end of the story here, and then go back to Gotham and then rescue, liberate Gotham from these people who have taken it over in the guise of having ended crime and stuff. They've ended crime because they're a fascist, a bunch of fascists who have used horrible means to, they've gotten rid of the homeless by getting rid of all the homeless, literally, things like that. So it's a very long story, like I said, and I'm not sure how someone who hasn't read all these previous issues, for the past 9 months, would react to it, or however long it's been. I don't know if it's been 9 months, but there's a lot of reading to get to here where you can kind of feel like, oh, this is a satisfying conclusion. I don't know how satisfying it is. I was kind of most satisfied just that it was over, that we were out of the desert now, or hopefully out of the desert, and conquered the demon type possession that was taking place. There was this thing called the Osmir or whatever that Batman had to fight against internally. So I don't care for all that sort of thing for a Batman story. I don't think it fits. I prefer the more down-to-earth, grittier, sort of like the Question story in here, where it's very much, breaking into buildings and stealing the evidence to put the criminals behind bars and things like that. And with Commissioner Gordon and stuff. I prefer those type of stories rather than all this stuff with these hallucinations and so forth. But, Ram V is trying something different. That's the writer. And it is a long epic. It is kind of deep, it's not a light reading, it's maybe there's all sorts of symbolism in there, biblical symbolism and, literary symbolism. I don't know. It may be very engaging for people who like to read Batman comics and read them at a deeper level than just, a superhero comic. So there is that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that it's trying to be a little deeper. I appreciate that it's at an intelligent level. I appreciate that the artwork is very artistic and nice. It has sort of Detective Comics has sort of a classy feel to it. Also appreciate that there's backup stories. Now they do cost more than a regular comic. Of course these days comics cost a lot anyways, but they're $4.99 for an issue. And they have like 30 pages of content and side story content. Nowadays, a lot of regular size comics are also going to $4.99, so this is still a good bargain. So do I recommend it? I recommend it for people who have been following Detective Comics. It probably isn't a good jumping on point, though, for someone who has not read Detective Comics in a long time. If you haven't read Detective Comics for the past year and you were thinking of picking it up, I don't think this would probably be the good place to start. You would probably have wanted to start it, some months ago. Or just wait till all this stuff is over, which hopefully will be, in a few months, sometime this year. But for what it is, it's part of an ongoing story arc that is, taking a long time to wrap up. For what it is, I enjoyed it overall. And I'm glad I bought it. And I'm going to buy the next issue too, and probably keep buying it for quite a while yet. All right, that's my review of Detective Comics 1083. I enjoyed all the stories in it, including the backup story, and the Dr. Hurt backup story, plus the integrated Question story. And I enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.